I'm Tim Sager. I'm a photographer from Buffalo, New York. I grew up in the Buffalo area. It's been a Rust Belt town. I became interested in industrial machinery, the landscapes of steel plants and grain elevators, and their juxtaposition in nature. It was something that was in the background all the time when I was a kid. In the mid-90s, I toured Rust Belt cities with a couple of cameras. These places had steel industry in them. This industry is basically gone, and this equipment has been left to rust. A couple decades ago, a lot of it was still around. I took an entire summer in '95, and I went to most of the cities that had steel plants in them between Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and Chicago. I went to several sites across Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and New York State. One of the greatest sites for me to visit and document was this Cary Furnace site in Homestead neighborhood of Pittsburgh. And a lot of that has been demolished. I took a class where we had to make experimental pinhole cameras. I came up with this stereo pinhole camera. It has a curved film plane. You can see there's two lens openings on the front. Essentially a very archaic device. To load the film, you'd essentially have to open this top lid up. The reason I curved it is so there'd be a point where one side is no longer exposing. It's only exposing about halfway. Otherwise, it would have been just like a double exposure. That's not what I wanted to do. You basically have two angles of view that are combined on one film plane. And exposures are going to be very long. In direct sunlight, it's something like 10 seconds. If it's anything less than direct sunlight, it's going to be longer. There's distortion because of the curved film plane and the relatively short focal length. Yeah, you're surprised, sometimes disappointed for sure. I did get better at estimating what I was going to end up recording on the film, but there's still an element of surprise no matter what. And I was sent it back to a friend in New York City who was getting this film processed for me. So at that time, the feedback loop was super long. I had to wait weeks to actually see it. There's a huge delay between what you're shooting and being able to see the result. You're going to think about it very differently. You're really going to think about your compositions before you shoot anything. I remember looking at a blast furnace and saying, wow, okay, this is really cool. I like my perspective here. However, the sun's not in the best position right now, but it's going to be in about 3 hours. So I'm going to wait and I'm going to look around and do something else, and I'll come back to that a few hours later. This is all done 80s, 90s. So I wasn't really doing any digital processing. The processing involved solarizing and photolithography film, which gave them that very blocky, high contrast look, capturing my own imagination about what I'm seeing. These images are getting a new life. I was asked to provide some visuals for the musician Wind Song. These were industrial landscapes, images from the grain industry and the steel industry. That combination of the music and the imagery worked. People did work in those environments. The machinery, the architecture is just mammoth. I think it's horrifically beautiful. The images that I took are decades old. In some ways, these are timeless.